In the world of auditing, your most valuable tool isn't a calculator and it's not some fancy spreadsheet software. Nope. It's your ethical compass. And this isn't just about following a stuffy rulebook. It's about trust, it's about professional survival, and it's about navigating a career where the stakes are unbelievably high. So let's dive in and break down what it really takes to master this. All right, here's our game plan. First up, we're going to look at the stark reality of what happens when ethics get thrown out the window. Then, we'll build your foundation with the 5 ethical pillars you absolutely have to live by. From there, we'll get into how to spot and neutralize ethical threats. And we'll wrap it all up with a killer framework to prove you've got this down for your exam. You know, to really understand why ethics are so critical, we've got to start with one of the biggest, most infamous audit failures in modern history. It's a story that shows just how fast everything can completely fall apart.
So picture this. It's the year 2000. Enron is an absolute powerhouse, a U.S. energy company reporting revenues of over $100 billion. They've got 22,000 people on the payroll. On the surface, they were a massive, massive success story.
But that success? It was basically a house of cards. Just 1 year later, that giant collapsed, filing for bankruptcy, in a move that sent shockwaves through the entire financial world. I mean, how could a company that big fail so spectacularly, so fast? Well, the truth was just staggering. An investigation blew the doors off the whole thing, revealing that Enron's glowing financial reports weren't just a little bit optimistic, they were built on a foundation of massive, deliberate, and systematic fraud. So where were the watchdogs in all this? The auditors, Arthur Andersen, one of the big 5 accounting firms at the time, were found to be complicit. They were caught obstructing justice, and in doing so, they didn't just break the law, they completely shattered public trust. The damage to their reputation was so catastrophic that the firm, this massive global firm, just ceased to exist. This failure was so profound it led to brand new laws like the Sarbanes-Oxley Act to try and stop it from ever happening again. It's a powerful lesson. When an auditor's ethics fail, everybody goes down with them. Okay, so to prevent another Enron, the entire profession is built on a really strict ethical code. Let's break down the 5 fundamental principles from the ACCA Code of Conduct that you have to uphold. Seriously, think of these as your absolute non-negotiables. First up is integrity. This is the bedrock of everything. It just means being honest and direct. No playing games, no hiding the truth. All of your professional relationships depend on you being straightforward, period. Now this is where it gets real. This slide shows what happens when integrity goes out the window. This is from a real disciplinary case from the ACCA. A member literally signed off on an audit report for work that never even happened. A breach of integrity isn't some minor slip-up. It has career-ending consequences. And this table perfectly lays out the other 4 pillars. You've got objectivity, which means no bias. You can't audit a company you own shares in, right? It means you have to maintain an attitude of professional skepticism. That's a questioning mind that challenges things, not one that just accepts what you're told. Then there's professional competence and due care. Basically, know your stuff and do your job carefully. Confidentiality is sacred. Losing a client's records is a huge deal. And finally, professional behavior. Act in a way that upholds the profession's good name. As you can see, each principle is tied to very real consequences. Okay, so knowing the principles is one thing. But spotting situations that could threaten those principles out in the wild, that's the next critical skill you need to have. So let's move on and see how you can spot these red flags before they turn into a real problem. The ACCA code actually groups these threats into 5 handy categories to help you identify them. You've got self-interest, where your own goals get in the way. Self-review, where you're basically asked to check your own homework. Advocacy, where you're promoting a client's side. Familiarity, where you get a little too close and comfortable with a client. And intimidation, where you're being pressured to look the other way. All right, let's put this into practice. Here's a classic scenario from a case study. Imagine you're the audit manager for a company called Murray Co., but you also own a small number of shares in that company. Take a second. What's the threat here? If you said self-interest, you're spot on. Even if it's just a few shares, you now have a direct financial stake in how well that company does. And that could, consciously or unconsciously, make you less likely to flag a problem or issue a tough report. Your objectivity is immediately compromised. Let's try another one from the same case. The audit senior on your team, well, her sister is the financial controller at the client. What's the red flag here? This kind of thing happens more often than you'd think. This is a textbook familiarity threat. Because of that close family bond, the audit senior might trust her sister a little too much, maybe accept an explanation without digging deeper, or just feel too sympathetic to her. That professional skepticism we talked about, that essential questioning mindset, is now seriously at risk. So, you've spotted a threat. Great. But you can't just stop there and say, uh-oh. Your next move is to raise your ethical shield. You need to apply what we call safeguards to protect your integrity and objectivity. So, what exactly is a safeguard? It's pretty simple. It's an action you take to either get rid of an ethical threat completely or, at the very least, reduce it to a level where it's no longer a significant problem. The whole goal is to get back to a place where you can be objective and stick to those fundamental principles. And there's a systematic approach you should follow every single time. Step 1, identify the threat, just like we did with our case study. Step 2, evaluate how serious it is. A client buying you a coffee is very different from them offering you a car. And step 3, apply the right safeguard to deal with it. Okay, let's bring this all home and put it into a practical framework. Because let's be real, in your exam, you don't just need to know this stuff, you need to prove you can apply it clearly and effectively. So let's look at the winning framework for how to structure your answers to get maximum points. Here it is, your 3-step method for a perfect answer. 1. Identify which fundamental principle is at risk. 2. Name the specific threat category. And 3. Propose a clear, actionable safeguard. Principle, threat, safeguard. It's really that simple. All right, let's put the framework to the test with a classic exam-style question. A client's finance director offers to take your entire audit team to the World Cup final, all expenses paid, as a thank you. What do you do? How would you lay out your answer using our 3 steps? And here's what a top-tier answer looks like. Step 1, the principle. The principle of objectivity is clearly at risk. Step 2, the threat. You've actually got 2 here. There's a big self-interest threat, because that's a gift of huge value, and a familiarity threat, because it creates a much too close relationship. And step 3, the safeguard. The offer must be politely but firmly declined. Why? Because its value is clearly not trivial. See? Principle, threat, safeguard. Clear, logical, and it ticks all the boxes for the examiner. We're going to end on this thought, because ultimately, an auditor's entire career and the reputation of the whole profession is built on one thing: public trust. And that trust is incredibly fragile. As we've seen today, from the epic collapse of Enron to the simple personal choice of declining a gift, these aren't just exam questions. These are questions you'll face your entire career. So the final question is for you. In a world full of pressure and temptation, how will you protect yours?